He is much more impressive than the hedgehog I fought previously.
Dude, I'm standing right here.
Hey, Nick!
What up, Kaiser?
We're back talking about Dragon Ball Daima, episodes 7 through 12, I think. I'm pretty
Correct.
sure. Yes. Yep. Is that the last one with Super Saiyan 3 Jeets? Is that it?
Let's fucking lead with that, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, that was the last episode I've seen.
Yeah, by the time people are watching this, it'd be really funny if like they weren't caught up already.
Fun fact, I actually just watched the latter 4 episodes of this morning because my internet's been spotty due to all the fires out here. So, yeah.
I hope by the time this goes
watched,
up,
like,
that's
the last 4 episodes this morning to be like, oh shit, that's right, we need to record today. We need to talk about this.
Yeah. So at the very ending, so on episode 6, we had the big fight with Glorio and Goku, which is kind of like definitely the mid-season, it feels like, because after that we get into a lot more of like the story, both in terms of like with Pansy and the collar, the Tamagami, and things. Oh, and not to mention new Majin.
Yeah, no, I actually really like what they did with those. We'll get to them though.
Yeah.
We get introduced to like a lot of different things. Like, for example, Pansy, like you were saying, she's got this like red collar. Like, she wears this scarf because it's like, you know, a collar of shame. It basically shows that like the demons of the third realm are basically serfs, I guess, to this like caste system of the demonic hierarchy. So Dr. Arinsu created these Kachin collars that I guess allow the gendarmerie to essentially be like, hey, no, you stop doing that. They point their magic staff at you and you're like, okay. You know, they're essentially slave collars.
Yeah, and they also have the ability, apparently, to punish you by taking years off of your life.
Yeah. So, you know, Dr. Arinsu, not a very good person.
Yeah, unfortunately.
She's a bad lady, but I can fix her.
Yeah, right?
The hear me out is...
Okay, no,
she's a 10, but that's the one.
She's a 10, but there you go. She's a
10,
10, but
she
keeps
enslaved
stealing.
an entire society. Just
Not much of a butt for some people, honestly.
Yeah. So we learn about that collar's existence, like its function. I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen how it works, but now we learn why it works.
Yeah, it's interesting because we get introduced to the collar, and then we immediately get introduced to a way to handle it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, interesting. I don't know.
I'm sure that will come back into play with like the rest of these, like of the serfs, like all the civilians and all the people who are being crushed by the bourgeoisie. I'm sure that will be like, oh yeah, and then Shin goes out and takes everybody's collars off and leads to a revolution. It definitely feels like
they seize the means of production and
right.
You know,
there's a lot of interesting, like, I wasn't expecting talks about class and stuff like that in Dragon Ball, but then again, Sandland.
It's been popping up throughout, like Sandland, and I mean, even think to GT with Capitalism Planet.
Yeah,
I was getting shades of that.
Well, like Dragon Ball has always been kind of, and in one way or another, anti-authoritarian. So yeah, this just kind of makes sense, right? Like you've got a government that is abusing its citizens. Well, that kind of fits in line with someone like Frieza. So yeah,
or the
it's
Red Ribbon Army, Piccolo Daimao. You know, like they've always been anti-despotic.
Yeah, and so it's a good plot here. I really like it. I like the setup. We don't get too much of it after this so far. Like again, because
we are given a bit of history though too, because we learn about Dabra's father, Abra, which, it is. I love these like that big fat like wrestler looking demon.
I love his. Oh my god, his design is so good. We learn more about that later. Like it's interesting the way that we get a lot of the lore drops in this show, because a lot of it is some stuff that they could have dropped early, but they kind of save for later. I don't mind it, like, cause, and also it's really funny with Abra. It's like, oh yeah, that Dabura's whole name doesn't exactly. It doesn't. The translation there is not as quite as easy as
it's
Bibbidi
like
Bobbidi Boo.
Bibbidi and Bobbidi. So
Yeah, it's not quite as immediately obvious in the dub. If the dub were accurate, it would have been Dabra, but I don't think that would have flown as well.
Yeah. It is interesting how we do like cut this at the 6th episode and talking about later on, because at this point it does become much more of an ensemble piece. Not only are Vegeta, Piccolo, and Bulma back in the picture, like we cut to them much more often, but we also cut to Dr. Arinsu much more as well, because we're starting to see her side of the plot develop.
Yeah. And it's, man, Arinsu.
And that weird witch that she goes to.
Yeah, I don't know where to start because I feel like there's so much going on here. Like,
I guess
there's
we
so
can
many
go
things
chronologically then.
Well, okay, yeah, because in episode 7, yeah, we get all the stuff with like the caller and being the gendarmerie and taking their plane, and also very interesting thing. I had no idea they would do something like this, and honestly, I'm glad that they did. Shin has a name.
Yeah,
Nahare
and Nair.
Nahare.
Nahare.
Yeah, his name is Nahare, and I'm sure I haven't looked up what that means. I'm sure it has a meaning. But it's so fascinating to me because he is Kaioshin. Shin just comes from Kaioshin. So, yeah, no shit, that's not his name, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's so neat. He's got an actual name. Okay. We haven't exactly done anything with it.
It's like 17 and 18 both have names, but the show will only ever refer to them as Junanago and Juhachigo.
Yeah.
I think they'd, not dig on, but I guess they just kind of accept it.
Yeah, it's whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think they just kind of don't care all that much.
Yeah, they're very aloof.
Yeah,
but yeah, the episode 7 gives us like a lot more exposition. Shin, he's got an evil older brother and an evil witch older sister. Or is the brother younger? I can't remember.
Actually, I have no idea.
Doesn't matter. They're siblings. We learned we've learned that they're siblings, but they keep pointing that out. And finally they're going after the Dragon Ball.
Yeah. So the Tamagami have been kind of like, they haven't been too well set up. They're kind of mentioned as, oh yeah, these are the guys who guard the Dragon Balls, and they were created by that old Namekian whose name I'm kind of forgetting right now. That's weird.
N name, I feel like.
Yeah. Which he is a fascinating character. Like I the more we get of him, the more interested. Neva, yeah. The more we get of him, the more interested I become, because he is. I feel like he's kind of the dark horse villain in all of this. Either that or
he does seem very cryptic and evil with everything he does. It's that weird kind of eerie smile that he has.
I don't know if he's actually going to end up being a bad guy, or if it's sort of this kind of like, oh, you don't know if he's good or bad. Maybe he is bad, or maybe that's just a cover for like, maybe he's just good and he's a little bit like.
But he does have that edge to him, like that. Every time he shows up, it's like something feels wrong. He's always. Every time he's there, the top part of him always seems very, like, whenever he's in, like, the distance, the top part of him always seems very shady, even though that's the part that's closest to the light. It's weird.
Yeah, the show is very much playing with, is he a bad guy? He might not be. It's very possible that, again, this is all just kind of like intentional misdirection, and he's just old and knowledgeable and just trying to get what he wants, but it's a good thing. Or he could be a bad guy. We don't know.
Yeah, because he's constantly fucking with whoever he's with in the scene. It's like, yeah, no, I'll bring these back for you. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how they work, though.
Well, so, like, and, the limited interactions he's had with the Tamagami makes him seem like a nice guy.
Yeah.
But
like he built these things to protect the Dragon Balls so that they wouldn't be overused by the evil lords that rule.
Yeah. I think, also, such a cool setup. I love the idea of, like, oh yeah, there are only 3 Dragon Balls you need for this, but they're all protected by like these warriors. Really cool stuff. And so yeah, we get Nahare, we find out his name, and then that's the point where they're like, all right, cool. So let's go find us a Tamagami and let's do this. Let's get our first Dragon Ball. And it's a little annoying that most of that episode spends so much time getting to that point.
Explaining things, getting to that village where we finally see the first Tamagami, the 3-star.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's a wasted time, but god damn it, the fact that it ends.
It's a
right
lot of
before the
exposition.
fight. Yeah, but finally we get our first fight, and holy shit,
it's great.
Like,
I love that each of these Tamagami kind of have their own personality too. I think that helps a lot, where they're not just robot fighters.
They don't have very distinct personalities, mind you, but they are personalities nonetheless. This first one's like big, bombastic, like the first thing he does is just yell at Goku. It's like, "What do you want?" Yeah, and it's a pretty wild way to start it. But yeah, it's the Tamagami. They've got neat designs. There's the big buff one. There's the like really skinny one, and then I think there's the one that's a little bit more like mid range, like more middle of the road.
The skinny one with the spear that's like very cold and calculated, and then there's the one with the sword, which is strictly soldier, strictly there on business.
He definitely feels like he is a like the paladin type or like the warrior type, and then we have the big old bruiser type that Goku fights in this first one.
And I like that there's rules to them too. It's like if you back out, if you surrender, they'll stop. Like they aren't just gonna kill you.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that aspect to them, where it's like this is a fair competition.
Yes, they definitely don't feel punitive. They just feel like, no, I am the guy that you have to get over. If it doesn't work out, leave, come back, we'll do this again. And I like that. I like that a lot because it definitely there's this nice feeling of like Neva didn't just make them to hurt people. He just made them to serve that purpose, and they serve it well. And so, yeah, and in this first fight, it goes crazy. The animation's off the charts.
We talked about this with, the big guy versus little guy fight. We talked about this when we watched Super Saiyan 4 versus Great Ape Baby, where it's like, okay, there are some fun things you can do there. This, I feel like, goes to the max with that because they're playing with size in ways that are like really fun. Like Goku's riding it, like because he's swinging this big fuck off hammer, so Goku's like climbing on the hammer, riding it, using it as a platform. He gets caught by the hammer and he's like not getting smashed by it, but he's getting
swung by it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, and him having to go underneath and like around and just.
This is how you do that sort of size fight, and I love it.
Well, the size here is also not a small guy versus a giant. This feels more like David and Goliath in terms of like he is big, but he's not like Great Ape big.
He's not giant, but like the scope, the scale of it is to the point where it is essentially a mini Goku fighting a giant.
Yeah, and it's really cool. They just do a lot of really great camera work. I was so impressed. And then, that Kamehameha, the first big one we actually get in the show.
Yeah, that first Kamehameha, where initially in that fight with Glorio, I thought that, when he's charging up his beam lightning to fire at Goku, I thought, okay, here comes the Kamehameha. No, they saved it for here, and damn, I'm glad they did, because that payoff.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it is so wild. Like, Naotoshi Shida went so hard on that scene, and
especially the second burst of it. Ooh,
yeah,
ooh, spicy.
It's so crazy. I'm so glad this show looks so good, dude. Like, this show looks. We didn't talk too much about the actual animation last time, but god damn. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just getting these amazing looking scenes that are boarded great character animation. Like,
the flow and the impact. Like, the impact frames are so good.
Yeah, they're really impressive. This is what happens when you have a studio that is just packed full of great animators, but also a good schedule. Because that was a big thing about this show. This show has been in production for forever. Like, people were talking about this. People in the know behind the scenes were talking about the show over a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember starting to hear rumors of it about that long ago.
Yeah, I'd heard rumors about it before it got announced. Like, God, I think it was a year and a half ago, and I kind of kept it to myself because I'm like, I I don't want to like write out people's names or anything. But knowing about it, I was like, yeah, okay. If it comes out, it comes out. That was back when it was called Dragon Ball Magic.
Yeah, I remember that name. I remember specifically.
And then finally, it's like a year ago, I think we hear about Daima, but then like nothing for forever. It's like,
and then they start dropping like, oh, it's gonna be them as kids again. It's like, oh, really? What's going on here? And then it finally comes out. It's like, oh, damn, no, they cooked.
yeah, no, they spent all that time cooking. I do think they needed to advertise it more, and its ratings right now kind of show that this show needed way more advertising. I think they were kind of like banking on it being Dragon Ball as being a sure hit. I do think that its lack of advertisement and kind of its premise have hurt its viewings early on. I'm hoping that once the dub hits, more people are going to give it a try because I really am enjoying the show and I want people to give it a try.
It is interesting that they kind of launched it on Netflix too. So.
Yeah, well, it's on Netflix and it's on Crunchyroll, so you can view it in both places. You're watching it on.
I've been watching it on Netflix. Its player works much better on my my smart television than the Crunchyroll player does.
Yeah, I mean,
your lights going insane there.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying because we've been filming. The sun has gone down.
Going down, yeah.
And my lighting in here isn't great, so I'm trying to get something on my. I'm trying not to look like totally blown out. It's tough. But yeah, it's not been like doing as well as I think it could have, and I definitely think that part of that just comes down to a lack of advertisement for the show.
I
And
also
the fact
think
that
it might. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, and the fact that it's on like Crunchyroll and Netflix, you're dividing your audiences a little bit, so it's hard to say. I'm hoping it's doing well because obviously it's a good it's a good product, and I want good products. We don't really
have those back end numbers, so it's hard to like really say. And I'm also wondering if it's kind of like you said. Watching it week to week is a bit harder. Maybe when more of it is out and people can actually like sit down and binge, because that's just the kind of culture we're in now. We're in binge watch time.
Yeah.
Maybe then it'll kind of like pick up. I think this show will have very long legs though, because it is quality, especially because in the latter half, like the latter half, like, you know, these latter 6 episodes that we're talking about today, we get more Hibis, and he's great. I love him.
Yeah. Oh, God. So it's sort of interesting because the way. Remember when we talked about the fact that they set up like, oh yeah, we're just gonna use this other ship that we found, and we're gonna repair it, and that's how we're gonna get to this demon world, and then that doesn't work, and then Hibis shows up, right?
Yeah, like I think the excuse there was like, oh, it doesn't have any fuel.
Yeah, honestly, I think I think they could have just skipped everything with that other ship. It kind of felt like they gave an excuse for why they couldn't get there. But why spend time working on that ship if it's not going to mean anything? Sorry.
I think you needed that aspect because you needed to seed the idea that other people are going to be coming along. It's not just Goku.
Well, yeah, I suppose like to set it up for later to kind of keep them engaged for that time. But by the time we get to like Hibis bringing them in, I'm so glad that we have that set up. I'm so glad that's how it's happening because this group works so well. Piccolo feels like he's sort of the odd man out where he's not as involved, but he does get to be the kind of this like outside observer for all the wackiness. So in that regard, we do kind of get that. But it's just like Bulma's like so curious about everything, and Hypus is like, yeah, that's how it works, whatever. And Vegeta,
this very nonchalant tour guide where it's like, oh man, this is this place. Oh, good. We get to stay at a hotel. I hope they have mud-colored wine. What's that taste like? Mud.
Yeah, oh my God. The movement on his head. It's all on ones and it's, oh my God. I'll never forget that.
He's my favorite character in this show right now.
Yeah. And his interactions with Vegeta are all priceless. Every interaction. He's like, you're being rude to me.
You're being rude to me. Fine. Please. Okay.
It's great.
He's like hitting on Bulma in front of Vegeta. She's like, "That's my wife." Whatever. Whatever, man.
Wow, she's in the ship, man.
Ship. Where is it? Ship got stolen. What do you mean got stolen? Got stolen.
Ship got stolen.
Want to go play with the zombies? If you get turned into a zombie, you lose. I don't want to do that. Okay.
He's so
This
good.
is my eyeball belt. I love him. He's
by
fantastic.
The way, is that the evil eye? Is that the?
If it is the third eye, that's a very Toriyama way to go about it.
I feel like
he made it sound like it's just an eye he found in the mountains. He's like, I found it. Put it on my belt.
Yeah, exactly. I think he has the evil eye thing.
Maybe it is. Maybe you're right. This is the first time I'm thinking about it like that.
Because
that is a very Toriyama thing to do.
It'd be really funny, and I'm genuinely hoping that's the case. I'm trying not to get my I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to be like, oh, it's got to be this, because if it's not, I don't want to be disappointed later. But damn it would be great if it were. It'd be so funny.
The show takes a left turn so often, just kind of out of nowhere. Like, we get introduced to Dr. Arinsu's plot throughout this entire chunk of episodes is she's trying to create a new Boo because she was there when Vegeta blew up the first Boo, and she grabbed a chunk of him. And so she wants to create a new one out of that. So she goes to this crazy witch lady who I guess created the original Boo. That's a bit of a retcon. Like, really shaft Bibbidi on that one.
So there's a lot that what the fuck? The fact that she created the original Boo is not something I would necessarily mind in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Because, we already had the retcon that Bibbidi didn't make Boo in the supplementary material. Mm-hmm. In that material, Boo was a creature that had existed since the beginning of time, which I think is actually pretty cool. I'm totally okay with that being like, oh, he's a naturally occurring phenomenon. Oh, okay, that's neat. But now we have something that retcons both of those things.
I think that's kind of here's the thing. From the universe's standpoint, Boo did just kind of exist because he got shunted out of this demon world reality and into Universe 7 because, okay, we can't deal with this shit. Get it out of here. Throw it somewhere where nobody's going to find it. Yeah, sure. Throw it into that universe. Who cares?
It is just, it's sort of weird because you have this ancient old witch who's just making universe destroying monsters. Mm-hmm. Why? What? Okay.
And
whatever.
I don't know. I kind of like the aspect of it because she clearly lives in seclusion doing her and Dr. Arinsu knows her because I'm guessing she's a fan of her work, maybe studied under her. I don't fucking know.
I like the idea. I like the idea actually that they're just kind of old friends or no, it actually kind of seems like she just found out about her not too long ago because
Maybe.
When she drops because she kind of drops the by the way, I know that you actually made Majin Buu.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was Bibbidi.
Yeah, I you know what? People are gonna talk and they're gonna say things, and I'm just here doing my thing. Okay, I'm just here making
People
monsters.
say a lot of things. I don't know where you found that cosmic monstrosity, officer. It's not mine.
Right. So, but it's interesting. A bit of an interesting lore change there.
I also find it fascinating that I guess Cybermen came from this universe, or because she has the Cyberman seeds.
It's interesting how Daima is trying to take we went off into space, but now Daima's yeah, but we're gonna take this all back to magic stuff now. We're gonna shove the magic back into the space and the science like we did in Boo. And I think that's interesting. The Cybermen not being an alien race, but being from the demon world. Okay,
it's a weird pull. I don't mind it necessarily, because clearly there's some sort of interdimensional trade happening regardless. People end up out there. Some people decided to smuggle a bunch of Cybermen, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, it turns out Cybermen, they be demons, and also
or at least demon creations.
Yeah. I really just anything with pointy ears now, I guess. That's just the thing.
I don't even remember Cybermen having ears. I guess they.
Oh, yeah. I just looked. They have the pointy ears.
Yeah. But yeah, so they decide to combine Boo's goo essence with the Cyberman seeds, and we get Ku first, right?
Yeah. So
Majin Ku.
Majin Ku.
And this is Arinsu's gambit to be okay, these are going to be this is going to be my fighter to try to get us some Dragon Balls. And unlike what you'd expect, he's very articulate. He's very kind of witty even. He's smart.
Yeah, he's kind of what would you say? He's a bit of a he's a polite. He's a bit of a fast talker. He's a henchman. And he's just trying to be here. Like he's just trying to be helpful.
I'm here. I'm like, look, Arensu spit on that thing, so he wants to be like happy with her.
She really did. Oh my God, she really did spit on that thing.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, no, I'm not gonna say anything.
They dwell on those shots too. It's weird.
You know, there are some people who have pointed that out, and other people are like, "Don't be horny." But it's like, am I being horny, or am I?
I'm
just kind
sorry.
of
She's designed that way.
Oh, she's designed horny. That's true. Like the design is horny, but
yeah, gooner culture is a thing. Damn it. Like,
okay. But yeah. So we get Ku, who I love Ku. Ku's a good boy. And I love the fact that Ku's a good boy. Ku being a good boy.
And he's not incompetent either. Like the fight scene we get with him is pretty fun.
Oh, you know that scene where he does like the whole like and then starts running on all fours? Mm-hmm. Cool thing about that, that wasn't in the storyboard. The animator was just like, hey, I want to do this thing where he like runs on all fours.
Just kind of went wild with it.
Yeah, and I'm like
he starts running like movie Craven.
Ku's got so much character to him, and I love it. It's real good. I was so weirded out by his introduction too. Like, oh yeah, we're going to get a new villain here, and it's going to be based off of a Cyberman, and it's going to be from the person who actually made Majin Buu, and it's got Anisu Spit. I'm like, okay, this is fucking weird. How did this happen?
It was to keep him loyal, I guess. I don't know.
But the plot up until this point, this has not been the thing. This is not where we've been going. This is not the build up, and then just like, and new Majin, and like, okay.
And then they have him fighting the 1-star the 1-star Tamagami.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I lose, you win. I'm not that strong. He's like, okay, failed. So she goes back and makes another one with extra goo. And
by the way, I really want to point out real quick, one of my favorite interactions is it's like, oh, well, that's too bad. I'm very disappointed in you. You know what? I'm firing you. You're fired. Yeah. Oh, come on. I've still got uses. I'm good at running errands.
I can run errands for you.
I like how she's just like,
whatever.
Yeah,
we're gonna go make you a brother.
Yeah, it's like screw this. You're getting a brother now. And
so they make Majin Buu with extra Boo-goo. They bury that seed deeper, which I guess has an effect on its nutrient density, and it comes out like much dumber and looking a little bit more like Chibi Fat Buu.
Yeah, we're seeing similarities to original Mr. Buu now. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because the characterization's not exactly the same either. He's less innocent and more just kind of like self-centered. Yeah. And that's interesting to me because that self-centeredness doesn't make him entirely unlikable though.
No, I actually really like these two. I like Majin. Like I expected to hate them, but I really liked them. I like that he's like, I want chocolate. Give me chocolate. Give me chocolate. It's like, hold on. I got this. Yeah. I can run errands. And he runs the errands.
Hey, what did he tell you? He's living up to exactly what he said.
God, he goes and buys chocolate. And he feeds his brother.
Oh my God. It's just such a great scene. They're so cute together. They're so cute and funny. And I love the fact that Ku is just out here doing his job the best he can. Mm-hmm. And we see this come back later in an interesting way too.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that I think they're kind of building up their relationship to be the sort of emotional core for what happens later, because I have a feeling that either one or two things are going to happen. One, they're going to fuse together, or two, well, I guess we can't. I was gonna say maybe she'll make another one, but they used all the boo bits.
Yeah, they used all the boo-goos.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do there. Maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe they eat the bugs.
Yeah, like I feel like that's kind of the direction it's going to go, where they have to fuse, and Vegeta and Goku will have to fuse, or who knows? Maybe Piccolo will actually have some actual thing happen in this.
I hope. Piccolo so far has just not had a whole he's. The stuff with Neva is interesting, and I really like that stuff in that episode. Otherwise, he's felt very kind of tangential, and I'm hoping that in the coming episodes we get more. It's not a complaint, it's just I do hope that happens.
Yeah, because it's interesting. In this batch of episodes, we learn that Namekians are precious because all of them fled this area because they were slaves. And now they have a warrior Namekian, they have a magic Namekian. There's going to be something in the plot with that. Like, Piccolo has to be involved from this point forward, especially after learning that lore.
Yeah, I'm very curious. There's that little comment that they make that he doesn't remember his language, which I'm wondering if that's a bluff. I'm willing to bet it's not. The reason that they gave for that seemed legit, where it's like, I've been living on Earth so long, I haven't had anybody to use it with. So I kind of get that. At the same time, less than a decade or so ago, him and Kami were speaking some alien language at the World Martial Arts Tournament. So I will not less than a decade. That would have been like 20 years at least.
Okay, but
yeah, he been speaking Namekian within the last 20 years. Like the idea that he lost it is a little weird. I'm not. Look, if that's just the case, if that's it, that's fine. I don't care.
Fine.
I'm wondering though if he's like, no, actually I do know Namekian. I wanted you to come along because I wanted to keep my eye on you.
Yeah, there could be that aspect to it, or it could just be that, like, you know, he can't speak it as fluently. Like, he probably still got some of it in there, but
yeah. I mean, who knows? Again, honestly, I'm very curious to see where they go with that. I'm just curious to see where they go with Piccolo in general. I really do hope that he gets some time to shine. I'm not bothered by how much he's gotten so far. I will be bothered if he doesn't get more. But besides that, you know, Ku, do love them. If they do fuse, I will give infinite points if it's Majin Buu. Okay, if it's Majin Buu, that's the final big bad that they have to fight. 100 points, 1,000 points. You get the
Dooku.
Yeah, you win. Oh God. But yeah, no. I will live for that.
I do like their dynamic too, where, you know, Do is stronger martially. Like, he takes the 1-star dragon the 1-star Dragon Ball Tamagami down
in a fight.
Yeah, because he has this chaotic fighting style where like Boo, he'll turn into a ball. Like, he does a lot of the Kid Boo fighting style sort of stuff, where he bounces his body. He accidentally blasts himself in the face when he's learning how to do things. I love that bit.
Which, by the way, again, the animation here is really, really helping to sell like both him and Ku. If the animation weren't nearly as good, these characters wouldn't be half as fun as they are. But the fact that the animation is this good is like, it really sells everything about them. There's this one shot where he gets slapped away, then bounces off the wall, and then lands right back where he was.
Yeah.
And I love that shit. It's so good.
Yeah. So he's much stronger, but we see their dynamic come into play because the Tamagami have this rule where it's like, okay, you bested me martially. Now you have to face my other test. And this one's more like a brain test.
Which I will get into Vegeta's one later because I found that one funny. But like the one for Do is unreasonable.
Yeah, okay, find me the sum of all of these numbers. And maybe it's unreasonable for a reason, because it seems like as you go down the layers, the Tamagami itself also gets stronger and their challenge is harder.
Maybe.
From what it seems. So he's listing off like all of these numbers, like, okay, what's the sum of all of these? And even Arinsu, who has been shown to be like, you know, the smartest person in the room in all of her scenes, is like, nobody can do that. And then Ku is like, blah, 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 and 29. And then the fat one looks at him, blah, 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 29. Correct!
Yeah, that, by the way, that is so cool.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, yeah, they are establishing that both Ku and Do have their own place in this plot. They complement each other. Oh, man, I love that.
It's why I think they will eventually fuse, because then you'll have, like, the strategic mind of one with the raw power of the other. So you just kind of get that ultimate big bad. Or I don't know. They're so charming. It's like it's like the betas in Heroes, where I don't think they're necessarily going to be like evil bad guys. but kind of like kind of evil to good, like kind of tweener sort of characters.
By the way, you meant the gammas.
The gammas, sorry.
I was so confused. The betas. Yeah, the gammas.
Gammas, my bad.
Yeah, and the gammas. Well, the gammas are sort of interesting because they were an antagonistic force because they were being misled.
Yeah.
The moment they found out what was actually going on, then they just became straight up hero characters.
But again, these guys, they don't necessarily I don't think they have a will of evil. There's just the fact that they're being led along by this person who has their own agenda.
Yeah, and I am very, very curious to see how they develop specifically because I love both of them, and I hope by the end of this that they get a happy ending. It would make me happy to see them like not destroyed if that's possible.
Yeah, as far as alignment goes, it feels like Dew is sort of like chaotic neutral, and Ku actually seems like chaotic good.
Yeah,
of the
Ku,
two of them.
I mean,
he's
Ku,
just being a good boy.
Yeah, he's not even chaotic necessarily. He just feels like he's actually more maybe neutral good or maybe just neutral because he's out here doing what he's told. That's his whole thing. He's like,
actually, that might make him lawful.
Yeah, maybe. He's just a good boy. He's just such a good boy. And I want him.
He wants to make mommy happy.
Yeah, and I really do hope that like they get a good ending. But meanwhile, I feel like
that's their whole plot because like we haven't really gotten into Vegeta and Goku and all them because Goku is now heading to the second layer of the demon world, where the air is no longer thick. Okay, we're tossing that out the window. We don't need to worry about that as a limiter anymore. You got it. They've already adapted to it. Who cares?
Also, real quick, there was an episode with Dragon Ball Thieves.
Yeah, I don't think it amounted to much. Like, it was just another one of those fun, hey, Goku's really strong. Let's have some fun little cheeky characters that Goku can slap around. It felt like their episode was almost kind of a B plot because the A plot of that one was Vegeta, Piccolo, and Bulma adapting to the new world.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it also ends up with them like meeting up and them being like, yeah, but you can't come along with us because we don't have a plane. Then why did you meet up? What?
Yeah,
what?
That did feel like really tacked on. It's like, oh, hey, we met up again. Anyway, we're going to level 2. See ya.
Yeah, I really didn't like that. Again, the story.
We aren't losing our tent.
This feels like a first pass like material. This feels like, okay, this all could have been cut and streamlined. That is my biggest problem with the show is that there are so many things that don't need to be there that don't actually add to the anything.
Except the runtime.
Yeah. And so there's this part of me that's just like, it's not killing it for me, but when it happens, it bothers me. Also, really weird transitions. Like, yeah. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there are times where it fades to black and then fades out of black. Like out of nowhere. It's just awkward.
And not in a time passy way, but more in just a scene transition way.
Yeah, it's just strange. And I
almost wonder if that's a commercial cut.
Maybe? I don't know, because it doesn't feel like it. Who knows? But it's a little bit awkward in that regard. Like there's a bunch of stuff in the show that I can point out where I'm like, yeah, this is weird. But the good stuff kind of like makes up for it for me. Like
like the fact that they're with Hybus just elevates every single one of their scenes.
Hybus fix everything. It doesn't matter how bad anything else is. Hybus.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah.
Is he doing something? It's a good scene.
But yeah, so yeah, they go off, they meet up, they establish, okay, we're all here now we're going to go off to the second Tamagami, and they end up getting it to that Tamagami ultimately together, which is good.
Yeah, because Goku and them, they go to that second level, they get attacked by the
Kraken.
Gendarmerie, and then the Kraken after their ship gets damaged.
Again,
which I like the design, like the jellyfish ass Kraken, the very like it's a very Toriyama Kraken, like it's a very Dragon Quest.
It is.
Octopi.
It's something straight out of Dragon Quest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's interesting because like maybe the dialogue kind of like, oh yeah, we're not strong enough to fight that thing, and I'm like, well, yeah, you are. It's just you'd have to go like Super Saiyan and do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they could absolutely kill one of those things because they knock one out. Like Vegeta knocks one out mid-fight,
Yeah.
like without paying it too much heed.
Well, he doesn't knock it out. In fact, after he goes Super
We see
Saiyan,
it floating upside down in the water, like in an establishing shot later.
I thought after Vegeta kind of like it coughs Vegeta up, it's just like, no, what, I'm out, I'm done, and then
It does
just
do
leaves.
that, but then we see one kind of like floating face up in the ocean. I don't know. Maybe that's just like a fun little shot.
But yeah, no, it's the Kraken. The Kraken's also interesting. Also provides a great scene for Pansy. The fact that Pansy's the one that goes back and gets the Dragon Ball. I love the look on Glorio's face when he realizes, oh god, we left the Dragon Ball in there, and she's like, nah, I got you covered. Yeah,
and Goku saved her. I thought for a moment it was going to be like he instant transmissions her out, but now he just pulls her out.
Yeah. Also, I also forgot about the Dragon Ball until she went in, and I was like, why is she going in there? Oh fuck.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was actually pretty good lineup there. I love that whole scene. I love the way they made that work because again, showing Pansy has a purpose. There's a part of it like I really like that because it feels like even Pan never really got that much.
No, not really. She does fulfill that role, and that scene actually did feel kind of tense when you're watching that thing get like kind of crushed around her. It's like, ooh, okay, I'm feeling the actual tension here. I know she's not going to die, but I feel the direness.
Yeah, if I were a kid watching that, I'd be kind of tense about it too. I'd be like, oh my god. Yeah, no,
it was uncomfortable and claustrophobic. I dug that as a scene, even though I know that she's not going to fucking die.
Yeah, it's all about like, even if you know it's not going to happen, the presentation can still make it work, and that's again, this show is nothing if not nailing presentation. And so yeah, we get all of them together. They are now fully together after
they're on proto planet Namek.
Yeah, which is gorgeous. It looks so good. They meet up with Neva there, by the way, and oh man. Neva being reintroduced by singing Makafushiki Adventure made my goddamn day. I was like, hell yeah.
Find him all the magic is. I get it.
Yeah. And
Piccolo's like, drop the shit. I know you're acting, old man.
I love that. The fact, like, again, this is where I'm glad we're getting more Piccolo, because Piccolo immediately being like, drop the act, dude. I'm like, that's so good.
I know who you are and I know what you're about.
It's great, and it makes me really want to, like, it's why this whole setup just makes me like, I really do hope we get more of the Namekian stuff, because I was never all that curious about the Namekians' backstory and lore and stuff beforehand, but now I don't know, there's just like, it's tantalizing. This whole setup is very tantalizing.
Yeah. We got that whole drop of like Piccolo's dad's name, which we did get in the manga, if I recall correctly, because we made that joke on Namek. Well, not even a joke. We just made that drop where Guru says, the son of Katats has passed. I remember the internet being like, retconning. Is it? No, that was there. That was there. But joke's on you, Dragon Ball fans don't read. Like, that's... The meme is real, man. The meme is real.
Like not being able to breathe in space.
Yeah. But finally, like, we get to the second Tamagami, and it really does feel like the pacing has taken like a different shift. It's like, okay, let's just get this part over with, because now we need Vegeta to get his run in. Yeah,
we have a lot going on now, and having two plots going on at the same time like they did was a great choice. It also meant that so I will say the animation for Vegeta versus that Tamagami didn't exactly wow me like Goku's did. It's still good. It still has some great shots, some great scenes. None of it looks bad, but we've finished all three Tamagami, and I feel like Vegeta's was one of the more lackluster.
A little, but it was less about the fight and more about what came of the fight, which was the fan service of finally giving you Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, which I was a little underwhelmed by, I'm not going to lie. just like his hairstyle, it didn't cut quite right for me. Like when Goku goes Super Saiyan 3, he gets like the full down the back Raditz look. The silhouette he cuts is much different than Vegeta's straight back Sonic the Hedgehog looking ass.
So somebody pointed this out, and I think it's very interesting that Super Saiyan 3 for Gotenks actually looks different from Super Saiyan 3 for Goku. And I never really thought about this before, but if you look at the way that they hang and the way that they're framed, like the one for Gotenks is actually really shaggy.
It looks, that like sort of, I don't know what they call it in Japanese, but that sort of fur-ass hair-looking cape that Jiraiya wears.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know
That's what it looks like on Gotenks, whereas on Goku, it has that more Raditz-looking flow to it. And on Vegeta, it's just like a big... Again, it looks like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it's looked like they gave Gohan Beast volume.
Yeah, where it just like kind of sticks straight back and like doesn't flow out at all.
I don't love it. If you put a gun in my head and asked me if he should have that or the one that he had in Raging Blast, I would have gone with the one in Raging Blast.
Yeah,
I know.
I do kind of like how it hangs down the back. I don't know. I think that silhouette just cuts better.
I agree.
But what they do with it and how he acts during it, I love. I love his presentation of having that power.
Vegeta here feels more like Vegeta should than we've seen in a while, where he is just like he is. Even when he's struggling, he's not like freaking out, and when he's on top, he's not like he's just, oh my god. When he gets the upper hand here, it's so good. He just looks so cool, and him flying around with his arms crossed.
Yeah, I'm like doing the Gogeta thing. And the way they present his power, like when he delivers like that massive blow and it creates that gap in the water, I love that. Like the presentation of the power is sick.
Yeah, it was sort of amazing too, because like just that shot of them flying through the divide in the water, it's so cool. And oh man, the CG effects on the powering up look great.
Yes.
I was really impressed with that.
Visually fantastic.
Yeah, the ultimate fight choreography and animation is not the best. It definitely doesn't hold up exactly to that first Tamagami fight. And I do think the Tamagami fight between Do and with Do is probably the better of the two of them. It's more creative and chaotic.
And they're happening at the same time too, which is the weird thing. So
yeah, but it is still good. It's still good, and it's, oh my god. I
love how it ends, where he like, Vegeta knows he has the upper hand. The Tamagami knows Vegeta has the upper hand, but he flies in there. He's about to do like one more thrust. Vegeta just kind of catches it, breaks the spear, is like, "Fuck you gonna do."
Yeah,
fuck you gonna do.
Him breaking the spear. I like this. The theme of like, oh, their weapons getting broken, and because it happens. I think it happens in both Goku and Vegeta.
It happens to the Hammer guy, and it happens to Vegeta's. I don't remember if it happens to Ku.
Yeah, I don't think it happens with Ku, but I like the both breaking the weapons, being like, nah, I don't need a weapon, so you don't get one either.
Yeah, you're done here. Look, you're a mid boss in this scenario.
Yeah, and
I do like that Neva powered him up too, just to be like, okay, let's see how this goes.
And it's a good, like, plot wise, great choice, because now that Neva's here, he can do that, and he is curious, so he does do that. So.
And the Saiyans don't care. They just want more. They just want a bigger challenge. So it's not even an antagonistic move.
And then we get to escalate the fight. We get to go to another form, because obviously, if Goku is strong enough as a Super Saiyan to defeat one, why wouldn't Vegeta be strong enough to defeat the other? But now he's got to break out 3, which, again, really great to see. Even if I don't prefer this version of that form for Vegeta, I am so glad it finally happened, because god damn it, why wouldn't it? And also, Vegeta gets a W, which, god damn it, he needs it.
Yeah. And not to mention we have terrain that plays into effect, which for the trident wielding character to fight underwater, I appreciate that they're using weaponry designed for their terrain.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's pretty good. I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of the setups and the executions for all 3 Tamagami. I'm glad we got these big fights, and also it's really cool thinking about it that the one Tamagami gave us an opportunity to see both how Ku and Do fight. So they all serve these great purposes. the structure for this has been interesting, and when it works really well.
Yeah. And I also liked Vegeta's riddle, where, you know, they give you this math problem, and Bulma's like, oh, he's never going to get this. And Vegeta's just like, and then you start off with this many cookies. You give a third of them away, then you give away the other half, but then a bully comes and he takes this many. He feels bad, so he gives you back this much. And then you give the rest to a snake. How many cookies was the snake able to eat? And
By the way,
Vegeta's like, none. Snake don't eat cookies.
I love the fact during all of it, he's just going like, he goes Super Saiyan because he's getting so impatient. I love that. I love the fact that his angry impatience makes him go Super Saiyan. It's so good.
He's like, I was here for a fight. What the fuck is this?
Yeah. And the fact that, so I like when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I believe it was 3. I think the answer was 3. When I was watching, I'm like, it's just 3. But like, yeah, Vegeta's not going to get it. But when he says 0 and it's like, snakes don't eat cookies.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I also like the dual aspect of the Tamagami. It's like, not only do you have to prove that you're strong enough to be able to beat these things, but you have to prove that you're smart enough to deserve the Dragon Ball, or wise enough to deserve the Dragon Ball. Like, Goku had to think outside the box, like, okay, follow the ball, follow the ball, follow the ball, with like the little ball and cup game where, you know, he tosses the ball really quickly, and Goku's like, it's back that way, thinking outside the box, being wise, because Goku is not smart.
and it makes me wonder if like there was something about that other one that could have been exploited.
Maybe, but it seems like that one is just like, you need, like, somebody who deserves to make a wish on the Dragon Balls needs to be smart, but also needs to be wise as well as powerful. Like, there's a level of mental gymnastics to each of them. Because with Goku, he needed to be like observant, be willing to think beyond the boundaries of the game. For Vegeta's, it was, you know, you need to think about the words, not just the numbers. Whereas the last one was like, you just got to use these numbers.
Yeah, but like, okay, so with the Goku one, it really is just a matter of like, you have to pay attention to where the ball is. I think with that second one though, it was like he could have said 3 and probably won.
Maybe. But what if Vegeta was right because snakes don't eat cookies?
It would be really funny if that was actually the only answer that would have worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Again, the Tamagami, I wondered how well they were going to play in the story, and at the end of the day, yeah, they worked. They worked pretty well. Give us some great fight scenes, some great comedic moments, decent as characters. I liked their challenges. I am very curious where we're going from here, though, because
it feels like we, like, throughout this entire thing, we occasionally cut back to Goma and Degasu, essentially just watching what's happening. Yeah. They've always been that sort of like threat in the background. They are where the plots will converge because they have Dende.
Yeah, it definitely feels like this has to be the point where they make a real move.
Yeah. So I feel like where the plot's going to go from here is, God, I don't know if the Dragon Ball plot will be resolved first. Like, obviously, the Dragon Balls, Goma, and all of them all have to end up in the same place. Because the more I've been thinking about it, I think you're right. I think the eye on, Hibis's belt is the evil eye.
Yeah.
Hibis. I think they're all going to end up in the same place. Goma's going to be like, that's the eye! There's the eye! So they're all going to end up in the same place with the Dragon Balls. I think that's where the climax is going to be, because I'm guessing this is what, a 24-episode show?
I think it's
I don't know. Like,
no
24
one's actually
is one of those standard numbers, right?
No one's actually 100% sure how many episodes this is going to be. There was a rumor that it was just 20.
You know, 20 makes sense with how this thing has been pacing out. So if it ends up 20, I think that's where this is going to lead. They're all going to end up in the same place, because it feels like you have to resolve the Dragon Ball plot at relatively the same time as the Dende plot, right?
Yeah, we'll have to see, because again, like also how Glorio and like the whole Arinsu thing is going to play into it. I'm very curious, because we haven't touched on that almost at all since the reveal happened.
Yeah, we haven't seen how his treachery is going to play out. like how Ku and Do are going to face into this, because it's obvious that like, Vegeta and Goku would go up against those two. There might be like the fusion bug involved, who knows. But it'll be interesting. I feel like everything's heading in the same direction, though. I saw the preview of the next episode, which looks like they're in either a giant space or they get shrunk again, because they're like around a bunch of giant marmots.
Yeah, I'm curious about that myself. I hear it's kind of a self-contained episode, which at this rate is a little weird. Yeah. But we'll see. I'm really looking forward to how this series is going to shake out from here. A lot of the problems that I had with it in its first half of what we've gotten so far have kind of been ironed out over time. What happens next is going to be, it's going to be really make or break, because, man, it's so weird watching this again. Like I only talked about this a little bit beforehand, but this is like the last thing Toriyama worked on for Dragon Ball, and maybe
a bittersweetness to it. Yeah,
there is, and just like experiencing this has been surreal in a way. We never like, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe from this point forward, we can talk about this episode by episode, because at this point we're caught up. I guess the latest episode dropped today, so.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind if we did it episode by episode. That there's I don't think people would mind so much.
Yeah, because these conversations, again, I didn't think this one would be an hour. It's been about an hour, so.
Yeah, well, look, I could talk. Oh man, I could talk about Dragon Ball stuff for God knows how long.
I could talk about Hybis for an hour. Damn it!
Yeah, it's true. I love the fact that Hybis is basically everyone's favorite character from the show right now.
He's great.
Yeah, him. Arinsu, Neva, like
all of the new characters. I've enjoyed almost every single one of the new characters we've gotten.
Yeah, it's actually really impressive. I haven't seen this strong of an addition to the cast since like Beerus and
Whis, yeah.
Yeah. Like, man, Beerus and Whis were truly, not only are Beerus and Whis like some of the strongest additions that we've ever had to Dragon Ball, it's weird to think that there was a time before they existed.
I will be interested to see like where the lore develops from here, because we also learned that, like, I guess there is a ruling class of Kai. Like they show this image in one of the exposition dumps of these people that I guess planted the Kai trees or something, because there was somebody that like Shin referred to as like, somebody that's like above them, that's not just the ruler of that planet. It seems like they're almost in that sort of Omni King sort of role, but they aren't the Omni King. I don't know.
I forget what it was called.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no, and he looks a lot like Zeno too.
Yeah.
He looks like the Omni King. Also interesting, and maybe you saw this. They show Gowasu.
Yeah, I remember that. So like there is that super connection. So I don't know. Like maybe people are gonna have their memories wiped. Maybe this is just kind of an Elseworld story. I don't know.
I do think that there's not going to be any mind wiping. I think this is just a story in Dragon Ball that takes place after Buu. And like, this is whether or not you want to consider GT the canon or Super the canon or Daima the canon, whatever, enjoy it. If you want to take stuff, if you want to take lore points from one and mix it with another, go ahead. Nobody's going like
at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
It really doesn't.
But it is an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm very curious to see how it, like, I am also curious to see if they will try and act like this fits in with Super, because technically it could, but you'd have to refuse Shin and Kibito.
And nobody's mentioned Gods of Destruction at all.
I mean,
like,
you wouldn't
I guess
have
you don't
to.
have to. Like, maybe they're more, it feels like the Gods of Destruction are more related to Zeno than the Kais are.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the Kais are not. Yeah, it does, because when it comes to, say, Zeno and Whis and all those guys, like Whis and the Grand Minister, they're like angels and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Where the Kais are like these god characters that were sort of like put in charge of the planets and whatnot. If there is in fact just this one dude that is in charge of all of them, but doesn't like play the role of, say, like the Grand Minister did, that sort of makes sense. Who knows? Like, again, it's this whole thing.
Yeah, the theology of Dragon Ball is always changing.
I thought we were. I swore I was like, okay, we're at Zeno. There's nothing beyond that. There's nothing that goes beyond like.
But there are things beneath him or around him that are.
I'm still wondering. There are some people who think that the dude that we see there is Zeno's dad.
They look similar.
They look really similar. If he ends up like being Zeno's dad, that would be kind of amusing to me because Zeno did always sort of feel like this character who's being groomed for that part, right? He's like being raised to be that guy.
Like he's the trope of like the child emperor.
Yeah.
Basically.
But like, who gave birth to the emperor? So I don't know.
I don't know. We'll learn as we go, maybe, or maybe we won't. Who fucking knows? Either way, I'm still digging it. After 12 episodes, I'm in. I've been enjoying it. We'll see if that sticks true as I go episode by episode from this point forward.
Well, I will say
with pacing,
you're past the bad pacing. You're like the subjectively bad pacing. You're past that now though, because I won't lie, watching it week to week lately has been way less stressful.
Okay.
So
we'll
hopefully it keeps
see
that
how
up.
this goes moving forward. What about you guys? What's your favorite Hibis moment?
Yes, please type your favorite Hibis moment down below. Also, feel free to correct us as rudely as you possibly can for anything we might have gotten wrong, because I know you guys love to do that.
Yeah, tell me to wash my hair more.
Hey, talk about my gray hair some more, why don't you?
The ever nonstop march of time. Anyway,
Right.
I'm gonna go try not to burn to death.
Have fun with that. I'm gonna go try not to freeze to death.
Have fun with that. All right. Bye.
Later.